going to be working through 3A as the first part of Unit 3 and 4 starting back in Term 1. So we've done translation before in Unit 1 and 2, so you bring some knowledge. So to start off with, we've got 2 points right here. I've got a point here that is -1 and 1, and this point here, which is 2, -2. So we're going to look at doing some translation on this plane. So when we're mapping, these points are the x and y points, and we're going to map to a new point. This new point we're just going to call x apostrophe y apostrophe. So if we are moving, we need to think about what is happening each time. So as you can see here, I'm just going to get a highlighter. We are going across 1. So both of these we're going across 1, and then we are moving up 3. Oops. So if we are doing that, then the first thing I need us to think about, let's go back to pointer. Is what is occurring? Well, the x is changing, it'll be x plus 1, and the y is changing, it's going to be y plus 3. So how we can write that is that this new point is worth x plus 1. The y new point is just worth y plus 3. Just a different way of writing. Let's take a look at this question. So we've got find the image of the point 4 and -1 after mapping of a translation. 2 units in the negative direction of the x-axis and 3 units in the positive direction of the y-axis. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to think about is what's happening with our x. It's saying 2 units in the negative direction, so we're just taking away 2. What is happening with our y? We've got 3 units in the positive direction for the y. So we've got a couple of things we're looking at. So now we know that, we're able to then look at the next part, which is how do we write it? And we're just saying the original xy is being shifted. That's all we're doing. So that means if we're looking at that, and we're going to apply that now. So what was our original x value? Our original x value was this 4. So we're just going, what's 4 take away 2? Likewise, my original y value was -1. So what's -1 plus 3? And I get 2 and 2. Now we've got this rule for part B. This rule already states on what we are going to be doing. So that means our new x value will be x plus 2. Our new y value will be y minus 5. Now, going back to the previous question, how we label our new point is going to be looking at this here. X apostrophe y apostrophe. So let's have a go at this. So straight away here, I'm just going to then look at the 4 and we're adding 2 and I've got my y of -1 and I'm just taking 5. So I'm just putting those values into my rule. I'm just going to simplify that down and that will give me 6, comma, -6. If we look at in terms of for y is equal to f of x is equal to x squared, sketch the graph of each of the following, label the turning point and any axis intercepts. So the first thing that we are doing here is we are just going to grab this x minus 2, and wherever we see our x in our equation, our function, we're just going to put that. So if I look up here, so anytime we've got something in this bracket, it is going to be put straight into that x area there. So let's have a look. So if I do that, I'm just going to write down my function of f of x is equal to x squared. And if I'm putting x minus 2 in, I'm going to get x minus 2 in brackets squared. So straight away, we know we're dealing with a quadratic. Now, it's already in turning point 4, which means I know that its turning point has shifted to the 2. And we learned this last year. To work out the y-intercept, we're just going to make x equal 0. And if we do that, x is 0, that gives me negative 2 squared, which is 4. So I know these two spots are going to be my intercepts. The only thing I need to do now is I'm just going to draw my graph. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question is slightly different. It's just saying wherever I see an x, I'm going to be substituting x plus 1. So I can see that right here. We talked about that. But then it's saying after I've put that into my function, the end of the function, what am I doing? I'm going to be looking at the plus 2. So I'm going to be adding the plus 2. That means that is giving us a vertical translation. So if I go back down here, first thing I'm doing is just writing my function out again, and then I'm showing that I'm putting x plus 1 in, and I've got 2 on the outside. So with this form, straight away I can see that my turning point. So the turning point is, how do I make this 0? Well, it will be negative 1, and what's left is 2. So when x is negative 1, I've got y is 2. So I've got this point right here. I've just highlighted. Again, how do I find the y-intercept? Well, x must be 0. If x is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 squared is 1, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So I know there's going to be a y-intercept here where I've highlighted. I've already got 2 points, my coordinates, and I'm just going to draw my graph. Let's look at the next picture. So for this, it says for each of the following, state the transformation that maps the graph of y equals f of x to the graph of y equals f1x. So let's look at A. So we've got f of x is 1 over x, and our new function here, highlight this, is the only part that's different is this part here. So we've got some translation. Now this part on the end is we are talking about our vertical translation. So the vertical translation means it's affecting our y value. So that means all we're doing is saying we're taking away 5 from that original y value. If we look at B, where it says 1 over x squared, and our new function says we've got x minus 2 in brackets squared. Again, this area here is referring to our horizontal translation of our truncus. So, and with a horizontal translation, the first thing we need to be thinking about is how do I make that 0? X must be 2, so it's 2 units to the right. If it's 2 units to the right, it means I'm just adding 2 to x. Okay, so the last question that we are going to do is we are going to look at finding the equation of the image of the graph under the stated translation. Then we're going to sketch both the original and the image on the same axis. So straight away, we know what these graphs are going to be. It's going to be a truncus. Looking at out here on the original, there is no reflection. So straight away, I know it's going to be in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. I'm just labeling a 1 and a 2 with my highlighter. Those are the two areas that we are going to be focusing on. So the next part that we need to look at is what is actually occurring. So we are wanting our x to shift over by 3 locations to in the positive direction. Now, normally on the bottom, if we're wanting it to go to the positive direction, we're really wanting to just take away 3 on the bottom right here. Be mindful of that. Likewise, with our vertical, and it's going down by 1, we're literally just taking away 1 at the very end. So those are the two spots that we are going to be looking at. So as you can see with the horizontal, I've literally just put taken away 3 here. And that means if we had like x minus 3 only, that means my point would be moving over, my asymptote would move over to positive 3 on my axis. Now I just need to simplify this. So that just means I've got 1 take away 3, which is negative 2, and I've got 2 take away 1, which is 1. And that gives me 1 over x minus 2 squared plus 1. Now I've done that, I'm just going to put in my asymptotes. So my asymptotes we can see are going to be at 1 here, and we've got 1 at 2. And the original function is we've got 1 at 2, and which is the vertical, which is what I've got here already. And I've got the original asymptote at x equals negative 1, which is right here. So now I've got my original function asymptotes. I'm just going to draw them in. The next part is I'm going to put in the asymptotes I just mentioned before of my new function. We can see this is now at x is 2 and y equals 1. And then I'm just going to draw in my function. So we can see the difference.